When it comes to sci-fi fantasy, there are so many huge titles that gets the credit that they deserve. And that's good. There are some series that do not, that don't get the credit that they deserve, or at least not yet. In this video, I've compiled 5 of those little-known fantasy series that currently, at the time of this recording, have under 5,000 reviews on Goodreads. Now, I get it. Goodreads is not the determining factor on whether or not a book or a series has the recognition that it deserves, but I think that it is a good demarcation. That's a word that I don't use often. It's a good factor. It's something to look at least. And again, it's not about the number of stars that a book has or the number of reviews that a book has, whether it's on Amazon or Goodreads or some other kind of platform, but those things are helpful and they do tell us something. Goodreads is a platform that I use quite frequently, and I don't think Goodreads sponsors anybody, so this is not free promotion, me telling about their social platform. They've got many problems, but it is a platform that I have used consistently now for a few years, and it's one that I look at when I'm determining what book or series that I want to read next, and it's one that I catalog all of my ratings and rankings on. You can find my Goodreads link in the show notes down below, but it's a good indicator on whether or not I am going to like a book or a series that I'm picking up. And with that, there are many books and series that have tons, thousands upon thousands upon thousands of reviews, and then there are some that have under 5,000. That's my cutoff for now of little-known fantasy series. That's still a good amount of people that have read and reviewed, but that's my cutoff for now. And already talked enough. Let's get into the first book. First book that I want to look at is a book called Malice. It is a part of the series The Faithful and the Fallen by author John Gwynne. I believe that this was his debut novel. He's written a few other books and series since. This is the one that I know less about. Upon recording, this only has 1,734 reviews, although it has many more ratings. It has 1,734 reviews on Goodreads, and has a 4.14 star rating, which is really high. This is the start to an epic fantasy series that has a darker tone than most, but it is very European fantasy as far as I've read so far. This is the only book in the list that I'm about to give you that I haven't completed yet. I'm about a quarter of the way through, and there are a plethora of characters, unfamiliar locations, titles, words. I'm in over my head, but I'm continuing to press on, believing that it's going to make more and more sense as I go forward. What I have discovered and what I've read from other reviewers is that this book really serves as an introduction to the rest of the series. Now, first books tend to do that, but this one more than most in that it has so much world building. So listen, this is a trudge to get through at the beginning, but I'm starting to get the payoff already. I'm starting to be more familiar with the long list of characters that are being introduced to me. I'm starting to understand the world and what's at stake. Now, I've been told that it's best to go into this book blind so that you don't know much about it. Just know that there has been a war, I think, between giants and humans a long time ago, and now the prophecies say that the war is returning. And then we're here in the days that the prophecy is speaking of. So I believe this series was first published in 2012, or at least the first book in this series, so it's not the oldest, it's not the newest, but it is a series that you might be interested in, and we need to get more people to read and to review Malice, The Faithful and the Fallen. Next up, with 2,386 reviews, we have the first book in the Burning Quartet, I believe it's going to be. It's called The Rage of Dragons. I've talked about this on my channel already. It is by author Evan Winter. It is his debut novel. A lot of these actually are debut novels and debut series, which is interesting. This is an epic fantasy, African inspired story of vengeance and revenge, a unique magic system. I've talked about it before. In fact, I did a full review. You can check out that link in the annotation. But the idea here is relatively simple. We've got a young soldier in training who something terrible happens to him and his family at the beginning of the story, and then he is set out on a quest of vengeance to get back at all of those that came against him. In there, he's wrapped up in the greater war that's going on. There's both rage and dragons. It's a fun, fast-paced, a lot of action sequences series where the main character is someone that you can relate to, but that is making one bad decision after another. It's Red Rising meets Ender's Game, two of some of my favorite series, some of my favorite stories of leadership, of revenge and vengeance, of bloodlust, of friendships, and then there's a really cool, unique magic system here that I haven't seen explored in any other fantasy series so far. It's called The Rage of Dragons, first book in the ongoing series where there's only 2 out so far, The Rage of Dragons and Fires of Vengeance in the Burning Saga. Next up, we've got Senlin Ascends, which is the first book in the Books of Babel series by Josiah Bancroft. And this was a debut novel, and this was a book that took me by surprise this year in 2020 and became one of my favorites. I did a full review of it in the annotation above, but great story, kind of steampunk fantasy, maybe a little bit of sci-fi elements, where it's this quirky story where Senlin and his new bride show up to the Tower of Babel, this ancient construct that is mysterious and is not what they thought it would be. Within moments of arriving, they are separated, and the rest of the series is Senlin trying to ascend the different levels or ringdoms of the tower to find and rescue his wife. It is a quirky, unique, light, fun, funny story that has some depth and underlying darker, more serious tones along the way. The cast of characters is colorful and fun. It's a fun story. And it's a very easy, light read that you can go from page 1 to the end very, very quickly. It's just got a unique world. I love worlds that... I love stories where the world itself is a character. BioShock is one of those that comes to mind if you've ever played that video game series. Rapture is such an incredible realized, with so much depth and history and characterization in the world itself. You get that here with the Tower of Babel, the different ringdoms that we go to, and we only go to a few of them in this first novel, are so expressive, so unique. I know I've used that word extensively here, but that is a good word, unique, for Senlin Ascends and the rest of the series that is coming to its completion with the 4th and final book in the series that should be released in 2021. The Books of Babel. Next up is a book that has just been reviewed 3,938 times on Goodreads. It is called Just One Damned Thing After Another, the first book in the Chronicles of St. Mary's. One that already has, 11 core books and a lot of novellas in between and before. It is such a beautiful, fun, bubblegum pop kind of reading fantasy series that no one knows about. Although this has more reviews than some of the ones that I've already talked about, I have heard people talk about this series less. It is so much fun. Is it the best literature? No. Is it the most robust characters and storytelling? No. But is it so much fun? A light read that is so fast-paced and so much fun, especially for history nerds, people that love history? Yes, that is exactly what this is. It has to do with time travel, which I typically find problematic in my science fiction fantasy because there's so many plot holes when it comes to time travel, right? So many problems. But this erases all of that by just saying, hey, let's have fun with it. Let's not try to make it too sci-fi that we've got to have real rules here. Let's just have fun. And it's about this group of researchers that go back and study big events in contemporary time. They don't even like to use the words time travel because it demeans what they do as researchers. But every time they go back to these historical events, they get wrapped up in something traumatic happens. History always has a way of trying to kick them out of that time. And so they always find themselves in over their head no matter where they are at in history. And they go to a lot of different places. I don't recall the exact locations that they go in this first book in the series, but you typically go to 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5 different historical events and locations. Some events that you'll know about, some that you won't, but that you can learn about. And it's just so much fun. There really is a good story that's being told there too. As our lead character, Max, she rises up in ranks, finds friendships, relationships. Oh man, it's a wonderful story. I've already read this book twice, and I think it just came across my table last year, maybe the year before. So it's a wonderful series that so many more people need to read and find out about, like, and review. Just one damn thing after another. The Chronicles of St. Mary's. Fifthly and finally, we have Kings of the Wyld. It is the first book in the series called The Band by Nicholas Eames. This, too, is a debut novel of a guy who just sat down and said, I want to do something that sounds fun. And he took some of the best of video games that he's played and some of the best of Dungeons and Dragons that he's played in his life, and he put it into a story and he had fun with it. It's so much fun. It's about a group of mercenary men who used to be great. In fact, their band used to be the greatest, most renowned mercenary band of their time. Used to be, because now they're old, fat, drunk, or some combination of the three, but they're needing to go on one final mission, one more mission to rescue one of the bandmates' daughters. It is so much fun, but again, there's a great story that's being told. Absolutely incredible action sequences. So much fun for people who like playing role-playing games, video games, or the like in-person D&D type stuff. It is so much fun. The world that he created is so robust, and the characters just drench with characterization. They're all unique. So much fun. This book series is epic, and there's 2 out already. I believe it's going to be a trilogy where the books and the stories follow a different band. In this one, they're following a band, and in the second one, they're following a different one altogether, with the second book being Bloody Rose. And so it's just so good. I can't say enough good things about this or any of these other books that I've mentioned so far. One of the things that I want to do on this channel is highlight books and authors that are relatively new or that don't have that much of a following, especially if I can get behind their work. Now, I know that my channel probably doesn't do much to promote that, at least right now, right? Baby channel, only been around for a year now. But if I can get other people to read some of these books that don't have that many ratings as others, and that are just as good as some of these others that do have all of the ratings, then I feel like I'm doing a little bit of work. I'm coming alongside of authors that have given us a gift in their work, and I'm saying, hey, a few more people read these books because they're great. If I've done that in this video, then I feel like I've succeeded. Help me with that. Would you drop down below in the comments some little known fantasy books or series that I can cover in a video in the future, just like this one, but for a fresh set of books? Please drop them down in the comments below. Let me know the title of the book, of the series, of the author, and I'd love to talk about them in a future video. But as always, thank you so much for watching this video, for clicking like, and if you haven't yet, click subscribe, join the Dragon Army, and we'll see you in the next one.